Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on the Samsung Galaxy A56 5G. You sent us some interesting details, basically a rundown of its price and specs over in Nepal.
That's right.
And our mission, well, it's pretty simple. Figure out if this phone hits that, sweet spot. Does it give you some really appealing features without the kind of price tag that makes your wallet wince?
Exactly. We want to see if the Galaxy A56 5G offers that smart balance. For someone who wants a capable phone for everyday life, maybe doesn't need all the absolute top-tier bells and whistles. Let's get into it.
All right, so the big question first. What's it going to cost you, assuming you're in Nepal, and where can you actually find one?
Okay. From the information we have, Samsung Galaxy A56 5G, it starts at MTR 65,999, and that's for the version with 8 gigs of memory, 256 gigs for storage files, apps, all that.
Right.
Now, if you tend to juggle more apps, maybe do some heavier tasks, there's a 12 GB RAM model, same 256 GB storage, and that's priced at MPR 70,999.
Gotcha. And availability?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Official Samsung stores, other retailers too, both online and physical shops across Nepal. So getting your hands on one shouldn't be too difficult.
Good to know you've got options. Okay, now let's talk about the phone itself, what you see and hold, the design. The document mentions it has a modern look and this interesting point about the camera area, looking a bit like the flagship Galaxy S25 Ultra. That sounds like it could give it a more premium feel right off the bat, doesn't it?
It definitely hints at that, yeah.
Yeah.
By adopting a similar sort of pill-shaped triple camera module as their top-of-the-line phone, Samsung is likely aiming to give the A56 5G a touch of that high-end look.
Right.
It's a visual connection that can make a difference. And beyond just looks, the screen itself has Corning Gorilla Glass Victus Plus protection.
Victus Plus, oh, okay, that sounds tough.
It is. Think of it as a pretty robust shield against everyday scratches and minor boops. Always a welcome feature.
Absolutely. That heart-stopping moment when you almost drop your phone. Yeah, knowing you've got that extra protection is a relief. What about other elements? Water, dust? I saw something about that.
Yes, it's got an IP67 rating.
Okay, IP67. What does that mean, practically speaking?
So the 6 means it's completely dust tight. No dust getting inside to muck things up.
Right.
The 7 is about water resistance. It can handle being submerged in fresh water up to about 1 meter deep for maybe half an hour.
Okay.
So, you shouldn't plan on underwater photography sessions or anything.
Not swimming with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it should easily survive, accidental spills, getting caught in the rain, maybe even a quick drop in the sink. It's about that everyday peace of mind.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the screen itself, the visual experience. It's a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED, full HD plus resolution, and 120 hertz refresh rate. That sounds like a really nice combo.
It really does.
Yeah.
A 6.7-inch Super AMOLED usually means you're getting really vibrant colors, those nice deep blacks, makes photos and videos just pop. The full HD plus resolution, that's 2340 by 1080 pixels, ensures everything looks sharp. No fuzzy text or images.
Yeah.
And that 120 hertz refresh rate, that's what makes scrolling feel super smooth, really responsive. And it's a noticeable difference in games, too. Much more fluid than standard 60 hertz screens.
Okay, and how about using it outside? It mentions 1200 nits peak brightness. Is that bright enough for, a sunny day?
Definitely. 1200 nits peak brightness is quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine trying to read your screen in bright sunlight. Higher brightness makes all the difference.
Right.
With 1200 nits, you should be able to see what's on your display clearly, even outdoors. No more squinting, hopefully.
That's a huge plus. Okay, let's dive under the surface now. Performance. It's running on an Exynos 1580 chipset built on 4mm architecture. Sounds like some serious tech talk. Can you break that down a bit?
Absolutely. Think of the Exynos 1580 as the phone's brain, the CPU. The 4mm architecture bit refers to how tiny the components inside are. Smaller generally means more efficient, more powerful. So this 4mm design suggests the A56 5G should handle everyday tasks smoothly without just guzzling the battery. It's a sign of modern, efficient tech.
And the document highlights a pretty significant jump, a 37% boost in efficiency and graphics performance. That sounds like a real step up. What difference would you actually notice with that kind of boost?
Oh yeah, 37% is substantial. You'd likely notice it in a few key ways. Multitasking should feel snappier, switching apps faster.
Right.
Apps themselves should load more quickly. And for gaming, that improved GPU performance means smoother gameplay, especially more demanding titles. It really quantifies a noticeable improvement in just how responsive the phone feels overall.
Now, thinking about keeping all those apps running, switching between them, what's the real-world difference between the 8 GB RAM option versus the 12 GB one?
Well, RAM is like your phone's short-term memory, right? Lets you keep apps open without them reloading constantly. 8 GB, that's generally going to be fine for most everyday users. You can multitask between several apps, okay? But if you're someone who really pushes loads of apps open all the time, maybe switching between work stuff, social media, constantly, or if you play really memory-heavy games, then that 12 GB option will provide a smoother ride. Less chance of apps needing to reload, just feels more responsive under heavy use.
And storage. It goes up to 256 GB. Is that generally enough these days? Are people still running out of space constantly?
You know, for the vast majority of users, 256 GB is likely plenty. It gives you a lot of room for photos, videos, all the apps you could want.
Yeah.
Of course, if you shoot tons of 4K video or have a massive offline music collection, maybe you could fill it. But for most people, it should be comfortable. No constant deleting things.
Now, one thing that really caught my eye was the software. Android 15, Samsung's One UI 7, and this commitment up to 6 years of software updates. That seems pretty exceptional for Android. Why is that such a big deal?
It really is a standout feature, yeah.
Yeah.
6 years in the Android world is fantastic. And it's not just about getting the latest Android features, you know.
Right.
It also includes ongoing security updates. Those patches are crucial for protecting your phone, your data.
Super important.
Absolutely. So this long-term support means your phone stays relevant longer, extends its usable life, and it stays secure. That adds a lot of value.
Definitely adds peace of mind. Okay, let's switch focus. Cameras. Triple lens setup on the back, 50 megapixel main, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel macro. When would you typically use each one?
Okay, think of it like this. The 50 MP main sensor, that's your go-to, your workhorse for most everyday shots. Good detail, handles various light.
Right.
The 12 MP ultra wide is like widening your view. Great for landscapes, big group photos, or just squeezing more into the frame.
Makes sense.
And that 5 MP macro lens, that's for getting really, really close at tiny things, flowers, insects, reveals details you wouldn't normally see.
Okay, and video. It mentions 4K at 30 fps, 1080p at 30, or a smoother 60 fps, plus this 10-bit HDR thing of front and back cameras. What does 10-bit HDR actually do for videos?
Right, 10-bit HDR high dynamic range. Basically, it lets the camera capture a much wider range of colors and more detail in both the really bright parts and the really dark parts of a scene simultaneously. Okay, so imagine filming a sunset. With 10-bit HDR, you get richer colors in the sky, and you can still see details in the darker foreground, instead of it being just a silhouette. Makes videos look more lifelike, closer to what your eye sees, especially in tricky lighting.
And the front camera is 12 megapixels, same video capabilities. So, sounds like a pretty versatile setup overall, photos and video, day or night?
That's the impression, yes.
Yeah.
Seems like a capable system for a variety of situations.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about keeping this thing running. Battery, 5,000 millihar. That sounds pretty decent. It should last a while.
It is a pretty generous size, yeah. 5,000 milliamp is generally considered large. For typical use browsing, social media, calls, messages, it should comfortably get most people through a full day.
Good.
Of course, heavy gaming or constant video streaming will drain it faster, but for average use, it's a solid capacity.
And when you do need to plug in, 45W fast charging. The dock says full charge in just over an hour. That sounds pretty quick.
Exactly. 45W is really convenient. Full recharge in a bit over an hour means less time tethered to the wall. Super useful if you forgot to charge overnight or need a quick top-up before heading out. Can be a lifesaver.
Definitely. Now, beyond the core stuff, any other interesting little extras? I saw a mention of AI features, specifically Circle to Search with Google. What is that exactly? Useful.
Yeah, Circle to Search. It's a clever little AI tool. Imagine you see something on your screen, a picture, a product in a video, some text, and you want to know more.
Okay.
Instead of screenshotting, opening search, typing, you just circle it or scribble on it or tap it right there on the screen. Google instantly searches for that thing. It's designed to be super quick, intuitive, satisfy curiosity without interrupting your flow.
That actually sounds surprisingly handy for those what is that moments. Okay. And connectivity. Lists all the usual suspects. 5G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB-C, NFC, GPS. All standard stuff we'd expect.
Absolutely. Covers all the modern essentials. 5G for fast mobile data where available. Tri-band Wi-Fi for stable connections. Bluetooth 5.3 for accessories. USB-C for charging and data. NFC for contactless payments and pairing. GPS for location. It's all there.
Right. And finally, colors. Black, gray, and green. Some classic understated options. So bringing it all together now, based on everything from this document, what's the big picture, the main selling point here?
Well, the core idea seems to be this. The A56 5G aims to offer a really appealing blend of features you might often find in more expensive quote-unquote premium phones.
Right.
Things like that nice high refresh rate display, the capable camera, solid performance with that efficiency boost, 5G, even some AI tricks. But packed into a phone with a more accessible mid-range price tag.
Yeah.
It's about getting a lot of bang for your buck.
Not having to shell out top dollar.
Exactly. Without needing the absolute flagship device.
And who do you think Samsung is really aiming this at? The document hinted at a few user types.
Looks like a fairly broad audience, actually. Everyday users wanting a reliable, well-rounded phone, maybe content creators who like the camera setup, gamers benefiting from the performance and display, students maybe looking for features on a budget, and really anyone who values smooth multitasking, a good overall experience, and, importantly, that future-proofing with a long software support.
So, to recap our deep dive on the Samsung Galaxy A56 5G, based on this info from Nepal, it looks like a phone focused on delivering a smooth experience. Great display, noticeable performance bump, versatile camera, good battery with fast charging,